Good morning. How's it going?
Hello.
Hi. Ooh, beautiful horse.
Thank you. These are my babies.
Oh, so sweet. Do you ride them? I'm assuming.
Oh, we actually don't ride these girls. They're more pasture ornaments, so we just love them.
That works. My daughter had a good friend barrel racing. Um,
Oh yeah,
she had,
that's awesome.
it was good. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you mind just uh, texting through the chat? I just want to make sure you can hear me, if that's okay. We're going to hang out just a second, make sure if anybody shows up in the waiting room. Oh, perfect, perfect, perfect. As always, if anything comes up, don't hesitate to ask questions along the way. We've got lots to talk about today, so hopefully we'll have some other people join us soon. So don't hesitate to type in questions as we go from here. I am going to go ahead and share my screen and make sure, and I'll still keep an eye on that waiting room, make sure nobody comes in. I want to remind you about a couple things in WebAssign before we get started. I was working on getting your next set of assignments so that if you were ahead, you could work on them over the weekend. So I have gotten several of those done. This is the student screen. The due dates are not correct over here for your next set of homework. In this target due date, I've got to edit that some more. But just in case students were ahead, or you're gonna, and you wanted something to do over the weekend, I wanted just to be able to for you to have that. For you to have that inside WebAssign. So you have a test due today. I went ahead and decided, since you had the weekend, to make the test due on Sunday night. Now, there's a little bit of a danger to that because I think better use of your weekend would be to get ahead, because as I've said over and over again, this class moves 90 miles an hour. So if most of you are on track to take your test today, and I would go ahead and encourage you to take your test today and then get ahead for the stuff next week. That's what I would encourage you to do. But we've also got the weekend, and maybe you want to take a day off or something. So I've made the test available, and it's due on Sunday night. So that's kind of where we are. Now, we were having some trouble graphing, and so I went in and kind of looked at the graphing and looked at how sensitive it was. I will tell you, on your test, you're only being asked to graph integers. And what that means is a positive number like 2, 4, 6, 8, and it's negative opposite, like -1, -2, -3. You're not going to be asked to graph anything like 1/7 or 2/9 or 1/3 on your test. Now, I think the reason that we are struggling with graphing is that we don't have a really, really strong understanding of fractions. And that is what I'm seeing is happening, is that we are kind of missing out on the fractions part of it. I've actually lost my chat. Hold on one second. There we go. Got my chat back. So I want us to look at a couple of these so that we can really see where those fractions are on this number line. One of the other things that I noticed is that the number line, when we were graphing those fractions, is broken up into fourths. So the first tick mark is 1/4. Then we've got 1/2, 3/4, and 1. So 1 is kind of all the way over on the right. So let's look at that. I did look at a lot of them. So there appears to be one that's given everybody fits. And it's when the answer is a fraction. And I think it's number 25. Number 25. I was playing around with it this morning to make sure that I was okay with it. There we are, number 25. So before I do another one of these, I want you to notice here is our 0 right here. Our number 1 is right here. Okay, so this is 1/4, this is 1/2, and this is 3/4. Now for this particular problem, I had to graph 2/7 and I had to graph 1/9. Okay, so what I had to do was I had to think about where does that fall. Okay, and so here is where 2/7 falls on this number line. 2/7 falls right here. Now right here, this tick mark is 0.25. and 2/8 is 0.25, okay? 2/7 is slightly more than that, which is right here. Now 1/9 is pretty close to 0. Now if this was 0 and this was 1, then it would be very, very close to 0. But you've got to remember that this tick mark right here is not 1, it's 0.25. Now, sorry, when I was doing this, I kind of played with it a little bit to show that I wasn't quite exactly on 1/9 or exactly on 2/7, to see how much leeway the program gave me. And it did give me quite a bit. It gave me quite a bit. But I think we've really got to think about where that fraction falls in relationship to 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 1. So we always have this practice another version. So that's what we're going to do together right now, is practice another version. Okay. So here's the problem that I am practicing right now so that we can really think about how to do this. So if I were to solve this right here, 3x minus 2, if I were to solve that, I would get the fraction 2/3. And I need to write that down just so, because I can't remember anything anymore. I'm getting old. So I've got 2/3, and it would be x is less than 2/3. That's what we're looking at right there. Then here, I've got 5x. Oh, you can't see the problem? Really? Thank you for letting me know. I wonder why. Let me see. Oh, I know why. Okay, let me see. Thank you for telling me that. Oh, I see it. You see the mouse moving, but you can't see the problem. It's probably because I was sharing Safari. Okay, can you see it now? It's 3x, perfect. Okay, good. It was my screen share. Thank you for telling me that. Okay, so here we go. So I've got 3x minus 2 is less than 0, and when we solve that, we get 2/3. Here, I've got 5x minus 1 is greater than 0, and when we solve that, we get 1/5. So that's going to be x is greater than 1/5 is what that's going to be. So we have to really have an understanding of where those fall fractionally. So this right here is 1/4, and that is 0.25. Now, the decimal equivalent of 1/5 is 0.2. So 0.2 is less than 0.25. So I've got to put it a little bit less. So I'm going to put it right there. Now, what you can think about is you can think about this 0 and you can think about this 1, and instead of breaking it up into fourths to do your 1/5, you're going to break it up into fifths to do your 1/5. Okay, so this would be 1/5, this would be 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. Okay, so I think our problem here really is that understanding of where those fractions fall on that number line. Now, 2/3 is a lot closer to 1. Okay, but 2/3 as a decimal is 0.6 repeating. This right here as a decimal is 0.75. Here we have 0.5 and here we have 0.75. So 0.6 repeating is going to fall somewhere about right here. Whoops. There we go. Okay, now I can move this if I needed to. Okay, now I've got extra things on here, so I need to delete one. I may have to clear the whole thing. There we go. Okay, so I can move this if I need to and move it a little bit. Now I'm going to do 0.6 about right here. So 0.6 repeating is closer to 0.75 than it is to 0.5. Then I'm going to kind of put this together. And then I'm going to grade it. And I got it right. Now, those are definitely not exact. And I did play with it to kind of see how much error it would give me. Now, one of the things I am willing to do is just override this and give you a point on it. Now, I don't mind you hitting Ask My Instructor and saying, Alicia, is this close enough? I definitely want them in the right area. Okay, so you've got to be in the right area to get credit for that. Okay, it's 1 point out of 42. If you think that you're pretty close and the computer program keeps counting you wrong, then just hit Ask My Instructor and I can override it. Okay, I will tell you when we start graphing lines, it is a little bit easier to find the exact spot because it tells you where you are on the coordinate plane. So that'll be a little bit better. So again, don't hesitate to email me. On your test, you only have whole numbers and integers. So you're not doing, now you will have fractions on your test. Your fractions, you will have fractions as an answer on your test. You will not be asked to graph fractions. Okay? You will not be asked to graph fractions. Okay, so we good on that particular? Yes, it does matter if you use a parenthesis or the hollow circle. And the reason that it matters is because we are looking at these from an interval notation. An interval notation. Lexi, that's an excellent question. So I want you using the parentheses when you have greater than or less than, and I want you using the brackets when you have greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. Okay, so I definitely want you using those. So if you're used to the circles, you're going to use the parenthesis the same times that you would use an open circle, and you're going to use the brackets the same time you would use a closed circle. Good question. Good question. Okay. Okay. So I am going to go back to WebAssign, and I want us to look at our assignments. And again, I have put your next unit assignments out there, and so I don't want that to overwhelm you. The due dates for that will be next week, but some of you are doing awesome with staying on track, and so I want you to have the opportunity to work ahead this weekend if you want to. So everything down here, the due dates on that will change, but everything, polynomials, factoring, that's all next week. Okay, we are focusing on finishing this Math 131, formulas and inequalities. That was actually due yesterday, but I wanted to talk about graphing today, and so that's why I bumped it. This is a practice test right here. It is not graded. It is not graded. And I hate to say you're crazy not to do it, but you kind of are crazy not to do it. Okay. It's a very, very, very good review, and it gives you a great idea of how you're going to do on the test. Okay. It gives you a great idea on how you're going to do on the test. I've got somebody in the waiting room, so I just needed to go and let them in. There we go. Okay. So I definitely would do that practice test. Definitely do that practice. Now, the practice test offers you multiple attempts to each problem. Your test does not. On your test, you get one attempt per problem. Okay? One attempt. Okay. You get one attempt per problem on that. So be sure you're aware that you only get one attempt on your test. Okay, this little clock right here means it's timed. You can kind of hover over it and see exactly how much time that you have on your test. And again, I made that test due on Sunday night just to kind of give you a little bit of wiggle room in case you needed it. Okay. One of the other things that I'm noticing under Ask My Instructor is I'm getting a couple of emails or Ask My Instructor questions that say, Alicia, I don't know what I've done wrong. I've tried this 3 or 4 times and I keep getting it wrong. And that's fine. That is absolutely a reason that you use Ask My Instructor. However, I need you to send me a picture of your work on notebook paper so I can figure out where you're making your mistake. Okay, so if that occurs and you keep getting stuck, I need a picture of your work. Okay, I know that you're probably frustrated and you email me and you say help, but I've got to see what you're doing before I am able to really get in there and figure out where your mistake is. Okay, so don't forget about that. Now, I just want to remind you, if you are sending me Ask My Instructor, can you see that thing that popped up? I think now I've got it just screening my, and it says settings and notification. So just make sure that you're getting the email when I respond to an extension request or I respond to an Ask Your Instructor message. That's super important that you've got this information right here clicked so that you are able to get my information back. Okay. Please, please, please make sure that you are watching the videos first. Make sure you are watching the videos for the module first. I had several questions on word problems. Anytime that you've got something that you struggle on, there's almost always a lot of other students that have struggled on it, and so I have addressed it during the extra practice. Okay, so if you had trouble on word problems, specifically the plane where it left and you're trying to set that up, I always have an extra one here. Another one that I did there is the inequality one where you had to figure out the final grade, what was the lowest that a student could score on a test in order to get a certain grade in the class. So that's another one. If you are in a situation where you have gotten behind, okay, if you're in a situation where you have gotten behind, let's talk about that. Let's figure out why you got behind, and let's make sure you have a plan to catch up. Okay, so I know this class is moving 1,000 miles an hour. I get it. I totally understand that it's moving very, very quickly. However, it doesn't do either of us any good if I extend assignments and you haven't changed anything. So I am open to extending assignments if you can verbalize to me why you got behind and what you're going to do to catch up. Okay. Your final exam is 2 weeks from today. This class moves very fast, okay? So you want to be able to have that conversation with me on how you're going to change it and catch up. So I will not extend any assignments unless we've had a conversation about it. And you can come and see me during office hours, which is what I prefer. However, if you can't make it to office hours, then we can have that conversation through email. Okay. Watch your videos first. Take notes just like you're in class. Then do the homework. Do not attempt the homework without watching the videos. Okay, do not attempt homework without watching the videos. Okay, that is about all that I have. Any questions for me? And you can see here that I've opened up chapter 2. I've opened up unit 2. Okay, and that's where all of our factoring is going to come in. Okay? Okay, any questions for me? Any questions for me? Okay, that sounds good. So I'm going to go ahead and post this video so that other students can see it. Yeah, so just email me or come see me during office hours if there's anything that I can do to help. Okay? Bye, guys. Have a good day.